Recommends approval with the 2 conditions as listed in the staff report.
All right. Council, are there any questions?
I don't have any.
Now I need to open this up to a public hearing, so if there is anybody that would like to speak for or against the changing in status of this structure from commercial to residential, if you please step up to the mic. All right, seeing no takers, can I have a motion? I close the public hearing. May I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of Council Resolution Number 43, Series 2016, with the following conditions listed.
Second.
Archibald,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Lucero,
Aye.
McLaughlin,
Aye.
Sheep.
Aye. All right, you can go start remodeling your house.
Congratulations. Thank you. You're welcome.
Well, I did business out of that little house for several years. I think they'll like it. It's a nice little place.
Yeah.
Nice neighborhood. All right, we have no unfinished business at this time, so we'll move on to new business, ordinance number 1218, series 2016. Kathy Moss.
Good evening. This is the ordinance that rectifies our budget excesses for 2016. Article 7, Section 22 of our city charter allows us, after 8 months, to make corrections or additions, amendments to our 2016 budget. The revised budget documents were included with your 2017 budget documents, and they were referred to during our budget hearings with City Council during the months of October and November. The fiscal impacts, which probably will change a little bit after we've had our budget hearings, but so far, we show, in total, we are lowering our budget by $2,284,615. The largest portion of this is in capital projects, $2.1 million, which is the CCN fund, which we have transferred to do in 2017. We have raised our operations overall within the whole city by $167,183, grants by $32,500. Fund transfers, we have lowered by $275,899. Once again, this has to do with the CCN fund, not transferring all of that this year. And our debt service has been lowered by $59,024. So the total of that makes up $2,284,615. Does anybody have any questions? For anybody who's interested, the proposed budget is on our website, under Finance, and you'll see budget. Our proposed budget is there.
Are there any questions, Council?
I have none. Thanks, Kathy, for all your work you do.
May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to, as amended, appropriating supplemental funds, rectifying budget excesses, and making budget revisions for the 2016 fiscal budget on the second reading.
Second.
Lucero,
Aye.
McLaughlin,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Archibald,
Aye.
Sheep.
Aye. All right, ordinance number 1219, series 2016. Kathy Moss.
Okay, this is the ordinance that actually appropriates our budget expenditures for next year, for 2017. The process for this is a long process. All of the budget documents are delivered to our department heads in July. During that time, they go through and they develop their budget, and then the city manager and I and the department heads met in October to review and amend any budget items that we felt needed to be amended. And council then held budget meetings during October and November with department heads also. Per our city charter and the statutes of the state of Colorado, we also have to provide our mill levy for the next year, and we figure that 3 different ways. We have to do the lowest of 3. We have our city, which is 5%. Then we have our statutory, according to the state, which is 5.5. And then we have Tabor that enters into that too. Even though we have what they call debruised, we did not debruise. You cannot debruise your mill levy. And so in calculating those, every year it comes out differently, but you'll notice how close together they were this year. On the Tabor, it was 1.23. The statutory was 1.26 mills, and the city's charter was 1.21. So the most restricted of that was the city's charter, which means that our mill levy will be 1.21 in 2017 on property taxes. The fiscal impacts for these are a total of $12.7 million in the general fund, $3.5 million in the water, $1.4 in refuse, $529 in the airport fund, $852,471 in the dispatch fund, $2,015,974 in the rec center fund, CCN fund $2,460,604, the hydro plant $142,957, shop fund $881,340, technology fund $778,908, self-insured health fund $2,545,331, the equipment fund $304,000, conservation trust fund $197,250, and the street improvement fund $2,101,508, and then our lodgers tax fund at $224,153. If you'll notice at the bottom of that, this always falls into about the same line. 62.56% of that, of all of those budgets within the city, are all operational. Those are salaries, operating supplies, any kind of contracts that we have, contractual services. And then after that, capital is our next largest at 6.7, almost $6.8 million, which includes all of the capital for streets, fiber, the water, the new City Hall building, part of that is in there. And so as you go down, still operations is our biggest thing. We do serve the public, and most of that requires manpower. So that's where the largest portion of our budget is.
Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the second reading, a few of these numbers will change based on what we discussed.
Based on what we discussed tonight, there will be some changes, and obviously, I will get you a new ordinance, or a new memo showing where these changes took place, so that you can follow it. They'll be read it out, and then what's real underneath it, so that we can do that. And what I will do, too, is I will not get you hard copies of the budget, but once we get it corrected and everything, I will go ahead and send each of you a PDF copy of the budget document so you can look through it, which will have Shane's budget letter in it also. Okay.
Okay, council, does anybody have any questions? May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I approve on first reading ordinance number 1219, Series 2016, appropriating 2017 expenditures, setting the mill levy for 2017, and setting a public hearing for December 13th, 2016.
Second.
McLaughlin.
Aye.
Archibald.
Aye.
Carlson. Aye. Keel.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Cheek.
Aye. All right, Osprey's
I'm
transformer
gonna
location.
recuse myself from this one.
Pardon?
I'm
Oh,
gonna-
okay,
yeah.
okay. Thanks. Thought I'd forgotten something. Students, what he's doing is that anytime there is an issue that comes before council that any council member might have a vested interest in, then that person is expected to do what is called recuse themselves, which means they simply step out of the room, they don't participate in the conversation, they don't vote. This is so that later on, if the public should have a question about something as to whether somebody should have if there's a conflict of interest, you hear that term used in reference to government a lot of times, that individuals are aware of that, and if they're not, and leave, and if they're not sure, a lot of times the council person will say, I think maybe I should recuse myself, and then we talk about it, and sometimes they do, and sometimes the decision's made that, no, they don't have anything to gain from that, or that they're not in a situation where it would be unfair for them to listen to or vote on a particular issue. So that's what Mr. Lucero did just now, is he recused himself.
You can't do that in class, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to answer a question, you can't recuse yourself.
Yeah, and so Mr. Lucero works at Empire Electric, who's involved in this discussion, but part of it specifically is he was actually the person who was on site working out the transformer cost, so he specifically worked on this project. And I think that's the reason why Ms. McLaughlin, who also works at Empire, but has probably no idea what's going on here other than reading the memo, so she doesn't stand, well, I'm just saying, he's got,
You're right.
Or actually, she does, but.
he's got intimate working knowledge of the project.
I don't.
Versus Ms. McLaughlin. So, in determining where to place the electrical transformer that will serve its new headquarters, Osprey received estimates from Empire for both the east side location and the west side. I did speak to Mr. Lucero earlier, who advised that he thinks the costs were actually higher, but there was a $10,000 difference between them. His memory was it was more like $40,000 and $50,000, but there was a $10,000 difference. So that's still what we're talking about this evening. But I just wanted to clarify that for the record. So I was contacted by Osprey to determine if the city had a preference as to where they placed the transformer location, and I was contacted and normally wouldn't give input on this, but you'll recall the city still has 3 acres of land just east of there. And so they said, geez, does the city have a preference? And I said, absolutely. I think we'd like to see the transformer on the east side, so it's easier to develop those last 3 acre lots. Initially my approach with them was to see if we could split the cost difference, maybe take $5,000 or so each. And ultimately, the folks at Osprey decided that it wasn't really worth it on their end to pay that $10,000 difference. And so they kind of proceeded as if they're going to build it on the west side. And I said, well, hold on, I'd at least like to talk to council about it. The thing that would come up here is that if we have to rebore our own transformer when we develop these 3 acres, we're going to pay at least $40,000 for that. So really this has nothing to do with Osprey, and it really just has to do with the city kind of planning a little bit ahead and making sure that those last 3 acres are also ready to develop. One more caveat that I'll put out is that there's, I think, a firm build cost on the west side. On the east side, right now, Empire's just built and has given an estimate. So right now, the estimate is right at $10,000. But I'd like council with the motion to consider, if you are favorable to this, to say approximately $10,000 or the difference between the west and the east side, because it could be $10,500 or 11 or something, and I just don't. I wouldn't want to say, here's 10,000, you guys have to eat the rest of it. So. And then I guess kind of the final food for thought, they do have to pay an additional cost, Osprey will, to add their backup generator, and they're willing to pay that cost, and I believe that's about $5,000. So they do have some skin in the game, it's just not quite as much as us. But
Probably makes those lots a little bit more attractive, too, if that transformer was relocated to that area.
I agree. And so the question would be either we would pay for it in the future, or I think we would have to be willing to accept a lot less of a sale price on them. So I think it's a great opportunity for us now. And then, like I mentioned in the memo, we do have I guess I didn't put it in there. Oh yeah, I did. We have a $25,000 budget for capital projects that we keep in general services. We haven't spent any of that money this year, so we do have money that we could contribute this project to.
Would you mind reading me line 14 on this page, please? On the page you gave us?
I'd be happy to. Who said they were a freshman? Could you come up here really quick and read this? Yeah, this is for that picture. So the pink side is the west bill. The highlighted yellow is the east side of the bill. And you can see it's just more line they have to run. So it's about 10,000 more.
Any other questions?
I have nothing. Thank you.
All right, may I have a motion?
And again, I would ask for a motion of approximately $10,000 to cover the cost, just so we have a little bit of leeway.
Just so you know what we're doing, students, is that basically what we're doing is we're spending a little more money up front to save us a lot of money in the end. It'll cost us less money to move the location of this transformer and pay the $10,000 than it will be if we have to put it in on the east side of the property at a later date and foot the whole bill. So we're spending some now to save a lot later. All right, we have a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'd make a motion to authorize the reimbursement to Osprey Packs of approximately $10,000 to cover the costs to relocate the electrical transformer to the east side of Osprey headquarters location in order to serve the future development of the city-owned lots.
Second. Carlson?
Aye.
Archibek?
Aye?
McLaughlin?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. He's going to get the council member that accused himself. All right, we have no draft resolutions or ordinances. We have no other items of business. At this time, is there anybody that would like to address council? All right. Seeing no one. City attorney's report? We have
Nothing, ma'am.
none. A possible update from the city manager?
Nothing, Your Honor.
City council committee reports.
I have one, Your Honor. On November 14th, Parks and Rec met at the Rec Center, and we were fortunate to have the Cub Scouts there.
Oh,
We had about half a dozen Cub Scouts working on their badges, and it was Cub Scout Troop 519. They were in attendance. Items of discussion at the meeting. We discussed future pickleball courts at the tennis court and at the old tennis courts, and possibility of applying for GOCO grants for that.
That has been applied for. The grant was submitted.
Okay. We also talked about Centennial Park restrooms and infill mix on the Rotary Ballpark and the South Softball Complex. Exterior lighting, perimeter lighting at the Park de Vida Park, and I think 10 LED lights we're going to be put up. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's proposed in the 2017 budget.
And we also had one of our members decided that he couldn't do the Park and Rec meeting, so we're looking for another person to replace him. That was Kevin Malkin.
Is that a at-large member? or is that-
Yes. Yes.
So that means that all they have to do is live in the county?
Yes. So Dean was going to advertise and see if we can get somebody to show interest in that. We welcomed a new member, Rachel Medina, who replaced Lon Andrews in our Park and Recs, and I think she's going to be a great fit. She brings some young blood to the bunch. We already have some. We're looking for a high school student. Am I correct? I think so. I think we're looking for a high school
So I
student.
think we've had a letter of interest from
Oh, we did.
Mr. Kill's last railroad. I mean his last.
Okay.
But we are, I believe, still looking for a youth on the golf course advisory committee. Anybody here golf from the youth? Joe, doesn't your son golf? Do you want to stand up and talk to us? No?
Just fight
Oh, man.
Oh, geez.
He's going to be so embarrassed.
That's good for
Anyway, we think Rachel will be a great fit for our group. We also had some further discussion on tobacco-free parks, and that's going to be a project, down the road. There's going to be a lot of discussions, I think, on this, on how we want to roll that out. Also, we watched a video on preventing public officials' liability. Dean showed that video to the group as well. And that was our Park and Recs meeting.
Well, good job.
Mesa Verde Country had a meeting. Unfortunately, there was only 2 of us there, so we weren't able to really vote or do a whole lot. We did have some discussion about our budget and what possible cuts we could make over the next 2 years with the budget cuts that we're looking at, and came up with some different scenarios, types of ideas. We also talked about the balloon signage that is now up, and who is going to maintain that. And then we talked about the future of the Trail of the Ancient.
What is the Trails of the Ancients? What is that?
It is it's really the trails that kind of go through, like the Hovenweed, Crow Canyon, and all of those areas. It's like a circle that there's interest of people
It's a
going.
designated scenic byway.
Byway. There. I think that's the word I was looking
Do
for.
they have a bike race that does that?
That's different. This is a scenic byway, which is a federal program, and when you get a national scenic byway, you can have cultural, historical,
Okay.
geographical. There's different scenic byways.
Right, and so it kind of leads you in that, like a circle area and all the places that you can go. And I almost forgot to say, Kelly got approved for a grant to do a podcast that you can download to your phone that kind of talks about that trail as you're traveling it, and it points out different locations and places to stop, and so it's going to be pretty neat once she gets that developed.
Okay. Any other?
I have none.
In that case, the workshop was dedicated to completing review of the 2017 budget. We heard from Phil Johnson, Director of Public Works, Rick Smith, Director of General Services, and just a few tweaks on the Parks and Rec budget. And that was it.
Hey, all my students, thanks for showing up. Appreciate you guys being here.
You guys get an automatic A.
And Orly's class.
Well, have a nice Thanksgiving, everybody. Come back safe, and if there's nothing else for the good of the city,
It's all good. Let's go home.
adjourn.